Okay. Versatile Vigilante, young Vince, Uncle Vinny. And we got a very special guest, a young fashion legend, Miss Cleo Williams.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing great. Really excited to talk to you. I've seen you doing your thing in the fashion world, building your catalog, making a name for yourself. So, really excited to sit down with you.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking before the interview even started. You're from Calgary originally.
So I'm from Calgary. I moved here like 3 years ago actually to go to fashion school. My background before was more like business, and so I decided to come to Toronto and like pursue fashion because there's not that many like as many arts opportunities in Calgary. So yeah.
Love that. What was the kind of the driving factor to go into the fashion world?
I always knew that I wanted to do fashion. I was like very much growing up like would tell people that I was going to be a fashion designer, but then like when I went to university, it's just one of those things where your family is kind of like, okay, well getting like an artsy degree like won't get you a job, so like do something like safe first and then you can like do something creative after. So I just had to take like a little bit of a detour, but yeah.
I feel like so many people can relate to that of like, all right, let me do this for a couple years, make the parents
Yeah.
happy, and then go do what
Exactly.
I really want to do.
Yeah, it was one of those.
Did they support when you were like, all right, guys, I'm going to Toronto, I'm going to do this fashion thing? Were they pretty supportive?
Yeah, definitely. It was funny because like my sister and I actually moved here at the same time, and she went to like film school. So we had both kind of like done like more like type A things before and then moved here at the same time to do like creative stuff. So yeah, our family was like pretty supportive.
That's pretty sick that you have a sister in film, you're in fashion,
Yeah,
building the empire.
exactly.
Love that. So you are the owner and founder of Soap Studio.
Yes.
Love that. When did that kind of start? Talk about the origin of soap.
Yeah, so I was still in Calgary at the time and I was working doing like international business stuff, and I was kind of like okay, like it was my first job out of school and I just wasn't really like being creative in any way, so I was kind of like I need an outlet. And like I'm a huge podcast girl, and so I was listening to a podcast and this woman was like, her motto was like start before you stop, and I was like wow, that's so inspiring, so like let me just start something and like see where it goes. And I just started like making clothes and just like putting them on like an Instagram page, but I like had already had like a sewing machine and everything because I started sewing in like middle school, but then I kind of like dropped it. So, yeah, like 2021 is when I like got back into it and kind of like decided to see how it goes.
I really like that. That's a really good quote too. Start before you stop.
Yeah.
I like that because I feel like the start is the end of a lot of people's like dreams. Like, oh, it's too much. It's too hard to do this, so I never even try.
Yeah, I feel like there's always like people waiting for like the right time to do something, and it's kind of like never the right time. So yeah, I like thinking about it like that. Like, okay, you have to at least like give it a chance before you like count yourself out, you know?
100%. And I feel like that's where the fun is too. What the fuck? Try it out.
Exactly.
So you were making your own clothing. Were you giving it to your friends? Were you selling it right off the bat? Were you wearing it? What was kind of that stuff?
I was wearing it, but like I'll be real, at the time like I wasn't very like good at sewing. So it was a lot of just like stretchy clothes that I thought were like cute, and so like I would wear them out and just like post about it, but like and I had like a website, but my first website was like really bad. So yeah, I was just kind of giving them to people and like wearing them myself.
That takes a lot of courage too, because to get good at something, you have to start off probably not that great.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then, you keep going.
exactly. Yeah, no, because I like also didn't really know anything about like photography. So I would just like take all my pictures myself, and I had like a photography setup from like Amazon with just like one of those like fabric backdrops, and all the pictures like looked so bad, and I was so confused because I was like, how are people getting good photos? But it was just like you just don't know anything when you start,
I bet you correct me if I'm wrong. Like looking back on that is probably so fun to think about. Like, oh fuck, I didn't know anything, but I was out here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I feel like you appreciate other types of art too when you're dibbling and dabbling photography. Oh, it's actually really hard when you see like sick photos.
Yeah, no, I definitely have like more an appreciation for like everything that goes into building a brand because you think like, oh, like there's posters and blah 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 and you're like, oh, like there has to be like a talented graphic designer, a talented photographer, a talented stylist. Like there's so much more that goes into running a brand, but yeah.
And I feel like your business background might help you in that as well.
We hope. I mean,
We'll
yeah,
see.
we hope. I feel like, yeah, I definitely didn't like love business school, so I feel like a lot of the information like has been wiped, you know? But there's something there still.
100%. And I also feel that building a business is the best business school you could ever have.
Yeah, that's true.
That trial and error. You can't really learn that in school, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a lot of on the job.
It's a lot on the job.
Yeah.
So when you started soap, did you feel like, okay, this is something I'm serious about right away?
Um, Not necessarily. I think that I was like honestly pretty like brainwashed from social media because I was always on TikTok and seeing people do like I'm trying to think. Like people would always be making like one kind of like crochet item or like upcycling things and would post it on TikTok and then it would like blow up and they would just like immediately like I was always imagining other people getting this like overnight success. So I was kind of just like in the beginning like okay, like let me just keep making content until like somebody notices and it's just gonna like blow up and that's like my sign to keep doing it. But then now I'm like, oh, like that's actually not a thing and like it actually takes like 10 years to make like an overnight success. And so it's more of like a lifestyle goal now than to just like blow up. But yeah, I wasn't serious until um yeah, I did like a fashion show and I just felt like people were like supporting me and so I was kind of like okay, like maybe this could be like a real thing if I like invested like more time into like actually learning about the industry. So, yeah.
I feel like when you see people like physically come to a show or show support, it's like, oh wow, like they don't have to do that. So I got something here.
Yeah, exactly. Or just people that I didn't know, like starting to follow the page or just
Right.
saying, like, oh, like, love this stuff. And it would be like, "Oh, okay, like, I can actually, like, in some way maybe reach people, you know?"
Right. It's not just like your high school friends following you anymore. You got
Yeah,
building a fan base.
exactly.
How did the fashion show come together? Was that also, sorry to interrupt, was that Raw Artist by any chance?
It
I think I
was.
saw you post about that.
Yeah, so that was like my first ever fashion show. It was like in like 2021 or something. But yeah, I did that and it was like 6 looks and I like they reached out to me randomly, which also like I've heard so many people have like mixed opinions on these shows because like when I looked it up, people were like, "Oh, like don't do it. Like you have to pay a lot to participate and whatever, whatever." But honestly, like you have to pay for any opportunity. So I say like I actually recommend it. I think it was like a good first show for me. But yeah, they just emailed me and then I had to make a collection in like a month or two, but it was only like 6 looks. And I just had like my friends and people that I like knew from Instagram. I asked them to model and like it was just like a really cute night of like, oh, like I could actually like do this, you know? Even though I look back and like the clothes were not it, but still.
Because it's not really about that. It's
Yeah,
more than that. It's the vibe. It's the
it is the
the
vibe. Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I really enjoy hearing people like take a shot on themselves, and it pays off in terms of just that belief. You know, you can't replicate that.
Yeah, agreed.
I love that. So with that event too, you had other girls wearing your clothes. That's a whole different part of the game too, like personality management. Like you had to make sure everything was good, everything was set up. Did you enjoy that
Yeah.
process?
Casting is actually one of my favorite activities. Like, I love casting. Yeah, I just love building like a world and just like picking people. Yeah.
I could see you doing that. Like just meeting you very recently, like I could see you being that type of person, a people person. Like
I love like curating a vibe.
excellent. That's something you want to dive a little deeper into.
Um, yeah, like I think the yeah, when you're starting out and doing like group shows, the thing that I've noticed most is that like yeah, you're not like controlling the event. So you can only control like your part of the show, but the like venue and everything itself is like part of like a way like bigger event. And so like my dream is just to like have like my own like events and to just be able to like curate the brand world. Like, you know, that's kind of the end goal because I love to just have like everything be on brand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything's soap.
Yeah,
I could for
exactly.
sure see you doing that, and I think you would kill it.
Thank you.
Where did the name come from, actually?
It's it's nothing deep. It's like my middle name is Savon, and so that's like very close to the French word for soap, savon.
Oh, I
And
love that.
yeah, and so I just chose that because I didn't want to use my actual name. So yeah,
Very smart.
yeah.
Very smart. I think I saw you post you're from European background.
I'm half Jamaican, half German.
Very interesting mix, and
Yeah.
I feel both countries are pretty serious about their fashion too. Like
Yeah, no, there's definitely like a strong fashion sense. Yeah.
exactly, you don't fuck around with that sort of stuff at all.
Absolutely not.
I love it, man. When you were getting into like when you were coming into Toronto, you start going out a little bit. Did you notice there's like a Toronto fashion scene? You notice people dress a little different from Calgary? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Definitely like different from Calgary. I think that I was actually like I thought that people would be a lot less casual here. Like I thought that people would like dress up more, but they're like very casual, just like I guess in a different way than Calgary people. But to be honest, like most of the trends are like the same. I feel like Canadian style is kind of like similar.
I think you're right, and also even to like your TikTok point earlier, like the internet has made everything kind of local.
Yeah.
You know, even I bet if you go to Germany, you'll see people dressing like they kind of dress here. Like there's subtle differences, but
Yeah, but for sure, I feel like everyone's kind of like uniform could be like pretty similar.
I think so too. And soap is mostly or all women's clothing.
It is, yeah, it's all women's.
Would
Yeah.
you ever dive into men's?
Like I think about it, but I think it would be like I would need to learn like a lot about menswear like before I did that. Yeah.
I like the idea though. I could see you killing
Yeah.
that too.
Thank
Just
you.
coming into the game, and even like you were wearing this Yamaha jacket. Like, yo, that's a sick.
It is a nice jacket.
You
I
know,
got
I
that
could
for like
see
$50. I was so happy about it.
vintage.
Yeah.
Are you a vintage
Yeah, I
person?
like almost like only shop vintage. Yeah.
There's some super sick pieces that just will not be recreated.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's
I feel like it's way more exciting to like shop vintage than to like go to the mall.
I think so too. Like how many Uniqlo shirts can you wear? How much Old Navy can you wear? Sometimes
Yeah,
nice to switch it up.
exactly. Good for basics, but otherwise I'm like, I want something interesting.
100%. Do you feel like fashion is that representation of personality? Because I've always felt that way.
Oh yeah, like 100%. I feel like that was where my like love of fashion like first came because I was like, oh, like I can just like, you know, be whoever in like whatever outfit I wear. And it was like I was so intense about my outfits in like childhood that I would like not leave the house unless I was in like the right outfit, and like my family would get so mad at me.
And now look, you turned it into a real
Exactly.
business.
Yeah.
I love it. With the women's fashion scene, is it something where you pay attention to trends, or do you try to kind of stay away from seeing what's popping so you kind of make your own shit? If that makes sense.
Yeah, like a little bit of both. I think like I've been seeing a lot about this recently, and I like agree is that like you don't necessarily need to follow trends if you're just like already tapped into like the what's it called, like the group conscience or
Okay.
whatever. Like I was listening to a podcast where this other designer was like, yeah, like people always ask her like how she knows things are gonna like be a hit, and it's just that she goes off of like her own taste, and because she's fashionable, like what she's thinking about next is also what everyone else is thinking about, you know? Like I don't feel like any of my thoughts are necessarily like unique, but if I'm able to like be like, oh, this is what I want to wear next year, then I just trust that like other people are also thinking they want to wear that next year, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. I feel like that's basically like trend setting,
Yeah.
which is that's gangster, man. That's how, that's the best shit. When you just follow what everyone else does, it's not really any fun.
Yeah, and then I feel like you're late. Like you just have to go off of what you like are thinking of, and then you're like early, you know?
Right, you're always kind of like a season behind. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
What kind of podcasts do you like?
I what are my favorites? Um I love, unfortunately, like health and wellness podcasts. They just like sometimes they're like irrelevant, or they talk about like really weird like woo-woo stuff, but like yeah, I love to listen to it while I'm sewing. My favorite wellness podcast would have to be Almost 30. Like I listen to it a lot. But the best fashion podcast for sure is On the Cutting Room Floor. And then this one doesn't have that many like new episodes, but So What Do You Do Again with Naomi Elize? That one is like also very good and one of my favorites.
I gotta check those out.
Yeah.
So what is it? So
It's
what do you
called So What Do You Do
like
Again?
SEW?
No, just so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be fire.
But she's like in fashion. She like works at Vogue, and so she interviews like a bunch of like people within fashion, but they're just like really good interviews.
That's hard. I always
Yeah.
enjoy hearing what other people listen to kind of inspire them a little bit. Do you feel like you're like part of the Toronto scene? Is that something you care about at all?
I don't know if I'm like part of it yet. I think I participate, but like I don't know what it entails to be part of the scene. You you
It's
know?
that's true. That's a great point. What does that even mean? Like you live
Yeah.
here. You're
Yeah.
you're doing your thing.
Yeah, but I guess like if someone like I guess I would call myself like a Toronto-based designer. So,
And I
yeah.
saw too like the description of soap is sustainable. What's
It's
is a good
called A
slogan.
Sustainable Experiment in Self-Expression.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
The sustainability is a big thing now too in terms of you know you mentioned slow fashion and stuff like that. Is that like a stamp for you? You're always going to be on the sustainable wave.
I think so, but I also think like the more that I've learned about the fashion industry, the more I'm like confused as to like what it really means to be sustainable, you know? Like I think that it's easy to start small and be sustainable, but then when you think about like actually wanting to run a business, it's like what kind of practices do I actually need to implement to have like less of a impact? So, yeah, it's something that I like am always thinking about, but yeah.
I like how you said that. It is kind of like a buzzword almost of like, oh, it's sustainable,
Yeah.
but what does that really mean?
Yeah, so I'm more thinking like what are like tangible things that I can do if I want to like grow. you know?
I do. I feel that for sure. And you do some modeling as well for
Not
yourself? Not
really.
really.
I don't like to be in front of the camera.
I wanted to ask you about that. Like, you prefer the behind the scenes?
Yeah, I definitely prefer behind the scenes because I like to like see the vision come together. And like I said before, like I love casting. Like there's so many just like interesting, beautiful looking people that I'm like I don't need to be in the shot, you know?
I like that a lot. Do
Yeah.
you handpick everyone? Can people
Yeah.
hit you up?
Yeah, sometimes people like will DM being like, "Oh, like I'm interested in modeling," but yeah, I always have like a very specific vision. So I pick everybody.
I always think that's the best way because you know what you want.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. Love that. Are you into like music, film, any other types of art?
Yeah, yeah, I love movies. Music, yeah, I love music, but I also am not like someone who like knows a lot about it. Like I feel like that was more my middle school era.
Okay.
And now I'm like I just listen and enjoy.
That's a good way to be. I asked that because I just feel like different art sectors kind of intertwine,
Yeah,
you know? Like you have
definitely.
a lot of rappers that model.
Yeah,
You got a lot of fashion people that have their own podcast. Like,
I love books. Like I love reading. That's my like favorite, I guess, art form.
what are you reading
So
these days?
I'm currently reading Boston Adventure by Jean Stafford. Like I'm only on like page 60 something, so it's like we're early days. But yeah, I love reading.
I like that. But I like that you said that too because it's mostly television shows, podcasts. Like, oh, there's reading as well.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's way harder to read than to like watch a show because you actually have to like tune in and like be paying attention. So like yeah, I just enjoy it.
Love it, man. And I saw too you did like a Gucci
Oh,
thing or something.
yeah, that was like last summer. So it was like a scholarship program that they do like called the Gucci Changemakers Scholarship, and they choose like 12 people a year, and each person is from like a different city that they've identified. And so you get to do like a 6 week program online where you're like learning from people at Gucci headquarters, like all business stuff, not really like design. Yeah, and then they also paid for my tuition. So
Oh,
yeah, I was very happy about it. It was very exciting.
good for you. That had to be a pretty big milestone.
It was. I remember doing the application and I had to like submit a video and do like a little mini essay about it, and I kind of like forgot about it cuz I was like let me just apply for like everything I can. But I didn't think I was going to get it, and then I was at like Shoppers Drug Mart and got an email being like you were selected, and I was like, "Hey."
Like going back to your point early about the starting, like just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I never would have thought that I would be like getting a scholarship from Gucci when I was like in the basement making like stretchy club outfits. But you know,
That's a flex too. Got the
yeah.
Gucci scholarship. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was happy.
And even going into the like the financial aspect, when you have your own brand, it's only you. You're putting a lot of your own money into that.
Yeah.
Do you deal with grants? Are you like trying to get more into that type of thing?
Yeah, I haven't really looked into grants since I've like moved to Toronto. I got a grant like from a Calgary artist association a couple of years ago, which was like also super exciting. And I used it to do like my first kind of like local manufacturing run, because it's like so expensive, obviously, to get things like made. But it was, yeah, I love grants. I love just like applying for things, and that's another thing that's good about like reading is that I actually love to like write applications, so you know
Hit up Cleo.
everybody. Yeah.
Need a resume.
Yes.
But see, that's the thing about transferable skills. Like, oh, you're a fashion designer, but you also are good at this administrative stuff. You enjoy this other thing. Like it all blends
Yeah,
very well together.
exactly. And then you just find people that are like good at what you're not good at, you know?
100%. Do you ever see yourself building the team, building soap? more members?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. I think like it's definitely a couple years out to like hiring someone else full time, but I was super lucky. I had like two really good interns who just helped me like 1 day a week in the summer, and yeah, they were like amazing. It was the best.
I could see you, man, running a team.
Yeah.
Not on some like power hungry stuff, on real like some real shit.
It's my Leo energy.
Your Leo energy. What month is
Yeah.
that?
I'm August.
Okay,
Yeah.
September.
Okay.
Gang, gang. Are you astrology?
I'm into it, yeah.
I only read my own. Very
Well, yeah,
selfish.
me too. Me too.
Don't
But
know anyone else's.
yeah. So
What's
you're Virgo.
I'm actually a Libra, day
Oh,
one.
you're a Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
Yes. A lot of people have a reaction when I say I'm a Libra. They're like, oh God.
I've been meeting a lot of Libras recently and I never used to, so I don't know.
I don't know, man. I read it and I'm like, okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
Keep going.
that's fair.
Are you in the TikTok world still? Like you mentioned, you kind of slowed down on it a bit.
Yeah, I haven't posted recently. I find that like if I try to force myself to post and be a content creator, like it's just negative vibes. So I only post when I'm like excited to share something.
And I think that's a great way to be. So I think the social media's got a little too serious.
It's so serious. I see videos where people are like, "Oh, like if you want to grow your business, you have to post like 10 times a day and like do this consistently for a month and like you'll see." And it's like, "Why am I putting myself through the stress of like getting ready to post 10 videos a day?" And like nobody wants to see that. Like, you know?
100%. And like, why? What's the point? Like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe you did get a lot of views, but still, like, what's the point? Like, of views? It's not
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. And that's another thing is like that I've learned is that it's literally always quality over quantity. Like if you're going to be posting hundreds of videos to TikTok, like not all of them are going to be like a really good accurate representation of your brand and then you're not even going to be attracting your target market. So like what, there's no point.
You're absolutely right. And it's like goes back to the fun. Like, what are we doing this for? Are you just doing it to be getting noticed or like
Yeah.
likes, or are you doing it because you actually really enjoy it?
Yeah.
I think there's a good balance.
Reflection.
Reflection.
Yeah.
Reflection. And I feel like too, it's good to think about those types of things. It keeps you grounded. Like, oh, I could just be going hard on social media all day, but you're a person too. You have a whole life to live, travel, explore. Like, I don't know, man. I'm ranting, but
Yeah, no, but I agree. I'm like, I need to get off TikTok and be in the real world. So, yeah.
is the fashion world like competitive? I've always
Oh
wondered
yeah, it's
that.
so
Yeah.
competitive. Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like like before moving here and doing fashion school, I didn't meet that many people obviously who were like into fashion. And then once you like get into that kind of world, it's like, oh, like everybody like wants to do this. So it is like super competitive, but then at the same time, it's like, how many millions of people are there that like I'm sure everyone can like, you know, go on their own creative path and it's gonna be like okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's room for everybody type.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a gatekeeper vibe though? Because I'll talk to like our like music artists and people in other fields where they're like, there's the belief that only one can make it, you know?
Um, I mean, I don't think it's as much like that in fashion. Like, or at least not to me because I'm just choosing not to see it that way. So, yeah.
Living your life on your terms. That's, I think, a very good skill to have obtained early on.
Yeah,
That's going to take you through life, man.
we hope so.
I hope so again. Exactly. Love it. So, Cleo, Soap Studio, what do you think the vision would be for, next little while? What's some goals, what's
Yeah.
something you're trying to put out there?
So I'm currently like working, so I don't have as much time to like put into the brand. So I'm giving myself like a longer runway and saying that I want to like have a collection for like May.
Nice.
So that's when I'm planning to drop something like new and just kind of take this year to actually like develop it and make it like, like I'm usually like very rushed. So I feel like I want to just like take my time on doing something. So yeah, that's kind of my vibe.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm
You're
26.
26, and that
Yeah.
those are such good lessons to learn, like at a young age. The patience thing is such a key.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so easy to speed and get ahead of yourself and want everything right now, get frustrated. There's no real point.
Yeah, that was me at like 23. And now I'm like, it's not that I'm that much wiser, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, like, I don't think it matters whether I get success at like 26 or at like 32. Like, I don't think there's anything like better about being successful younger. Whereas, like, I feel like there's so much pressure to be like, oh, like, you achieve so much in like a short time and it makes it like more like worthy, but like I'm trying to get rid of that mindset.
I love it because like where did that come from? Like where did those expectations? It's just like a weird society thing of
Yeah.
like what? Like
Yeah.
you're still living, you're still you, you're still doing your thing. Like
Exactly, exactly. I think that's the interesting thing about like transitioning from like, yeah, like when I turned 25, I feel like everyone has like a quarter life crisis when they turn 25 because it's the first time you're like, oh, like the famous people coming up are really like younger than me, you know? And so like as a child, you're always aspiring to be like in your 20s because that's when you see people like,
yeah.
starting to get successful, and then you're kind of like, oh, like I've lived like a real 25 years, so
Yeah,
yeah.
you're not a baby anymore. And then you
Yeah.
start seeing like 30 and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
we're not." And then you think as a kid 30 so old and then you get closer to that, you're like, "Bro, I still feel like a fucking kid."
but at the same time I'm like, you know what, it is kind of old because like when I think about myself in like first year university, I'm like wow, like she really knew nothing, so I'm grateful to be wise.
Absolutely. I love that point. You're almost a different person. Like I consider myself at 17, 18 to be a different person than I am now,
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Love it. Cleo, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed talking to you, man. Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything for the end of year that you got coming up you want to talk about? Floor is yours.
I guess everyone just follow on Instagram at Shop Soap Studios, and that's like pretty much it.
Solid. One of the sickest brands. I don't, I probably won't be able to wear your clothes in the near future, but I
Yeah.
fuck with it. I see the effort, I see the quality, and you got a really, really cool spirit and energy. I see a lot of success for you in the
Thank
near
you.
future. So shout out to Cleo, Versatile Vigilante, Tiago in the back recording. Let's fucking get it, man.